Well, obviously, this is an exciting week for Auburn, and it's game week, so that's a great thing for our football team. I think it's that point in the year where they're about tired of beating on each other, and they realize that game week is here, and so that's exciting for our fans and for our team and for our coaches, and we're in a good place. We're really looking forward to this great challenge. You know, we got a fantastic opportunity here to really see where we stand as a football team. You know, in my 4 years here, we haven't quite ever opened with a team, you know, like Clemson in terms of, you know, this good of a football team. And so I think it's going to be a great measuring stick for us. Obviously, this is the third time that we've played them in a row, and we've got a kind of a good feel for Clemson and what their ideas are. But I think it's an exciting type of game to open the season with, which again has been a little bit different from the past. So I think our guys are really into it. You know, Sunday's practice was very, very focused and locked in, and I think that they're really in a good place with getting mentally and physically prepared to play this game. We're going to Atlanta, and we're playing in front of a lot of great Auburn fans, and so I think the venue there is also exciting to our players as well. So we're looking forward to it, and it'll be a lot of fun. And we got a lot of work to do in the next week before we play Saturday. But we're going to go back to work today, and we're going to continue to try to improve. See what we can do Saturday night.
Coach, how do you keep all the discipline issues from being a distraction for this team, and how taxing is it on you as a coach having to deal with a lot of these?
Well, you know what? That's part of the job as a coach. You know, our job is obviously to win games on the field. We know that, but our job is also to help young guys, young and mature guys, grow up and become men. And so, one of the things that I think we've done here in the past, and we'll continue to do that because that's always a point of emphasis for us, is that we always have to stay focused on all of the things that you know, that matter at that time in terms of preparing for football games during the season. Obviously, you know, you can let outside things distract you as a football team and as a coaching staff, but you know, over the years we've been pretty steadfast in our movement towards staying focused and preparing. So we'll do the same here. Obviously, my main concern is when you know you have events off the field that aren't very flattering to your program, is to get help for young guys. That's our job, and to try to grow them up. And so that's what we'll continue to do. But the distractions or potential distractions on the field, we'll always be very steadfast on how we try to move through those and not let them become a total team distraction.
Just one of these cases where you kind of revisit the recruiting process and have a more critical eye when it comes to character, or is this one of those cases where you have good kids making bad choices?
Well, I think that, you know, I'll say this, I've said it before, you know, the majority of our kids make great decisions. And it's been disappointing with a couple of decisions that have been made out there that obviously don't paint a very flattering picture. It's very bothersome in terms of, you know, what you try to get accomplished off the field with your players in terms of the importance of doing the right things. But in the same sense, the majority, I'll say it again, the majority of our kids do a great job of that. And so, and I appreciate them. When they don't, we'll address it. We're going to try to help them. And obviously, again, help them grow up. So, you know, it's part of what our job is. And we feel like we do a really good job in terms of monitoring and evaluating guys when we bring them in here. And, you know, again, we'll always continue to have that at the forefront of what we want to do. And we'll continue to educate our guys on choice making and, you know, again, move forward.
Gene, when you have one guy get in trouble, do you have less tolerance for the next guy that crosses the line and the next guy, et cetera?
Well, I think that it's, you know, every case is individual. I don't think that, you know, on the outside looking in, unless you have all the details, you don't know exactly what, you know, what all of the details are from a cumulative effect. Nobody knows that. And again, that's, you know, that's within everybody's team and how head coaches choose to handle that. But every coach is individual. Every situation is individual and specific in detail and different. And so there's not one cookie cutter way of dealing with every single episode. And so to the outside looking in, that may not make sense, but that's the way it is on the inside.
Coach, it seems like this Clemson game has been kind of a tone setter for the season for them last year, for you guys a couple of years ago. Any opinion why that is, and you kind of expect another one to kind of find out what both of you are?
You know, it's kind of, I guess it's just the way it's really unfolded the last 2 years. You know, 2010, that was really that was an eye-opening game for us because we were able to win it, but I felt like we got physically beat, you know, on the lines of scrimmage back in 2010, and that was kind of something that I think catapulted us into understanding what it was going to take to really win this league that year. For them, you know, in the fourth quarter, you know, the game got away from us in the fourth quarter, and they really, you know, played well down the stretch of that game, and that kind of catapulted them into, I think, the next week, you know, win against Florida State the next week, and so on and so forth. And it was really, as you said, it was, you know, a kind of a trend-setting game for them, if you will, as they move forward. This year, it'll be very interesting. I'm really looking forward to. This is going to be a great idea. You know, the next week we got to play, you know, an tough SEC West game. So I think this is going to be a great indicator for us, just where we stand. But again, you know, whether that dictates how the rest of your season unfolds or not, you know, you don't know that till December. But you know, if the last 2 years of history, you know, have anything to say in it, then it might. Could very well.
Coach, even without Sammy Watkins, they still have Taj Boyd back and running backs. What, I guess in looking back on the game last year, I guess, what do you see that you have to do to contain Taj Boyd and then run back?
Well, this is an offense that averaged 33-plus points a game last year. It's an offense that, you know, averages 440 yards a game. That's hard to do. And that's really hard to do. So they're very explosive. I think one of the things that makes this offense, and in us being in a very similar offense for 3 years, I think we have a good idea of this. This is an offense that is very explosive. And it's, you know, its big play potential and big play capabilities is the number one thing that you have to defend against when you go into these games. Now, specifically related to Clemson, you're looking at that type of offense with a lot of guys in key places that can make that happen. So, you know, Sammy Watkins apparently is not playing. I promise you there's a lot of other people on their team that have the capability to make explosive plays. DeAndre Hopkins was a wonderful receiver last year that played very well. Andre Ellington at tailback. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And then the guy that you know, that runs the show with Taj Boyd. So there's a lot of weapons there. I don't think they've ever, there's very few cases right now where they've had a problem scoring points and, you know, amassing yards. So real tough to defend. If Sammy doesn't play, there'll be somebody else that steps up to the plate because they've got a very young, talented football team, and they've done a great job recruiting, you know, to fit you know, what they want to do.
How much advantage does it have? Do you look at it as an advantage to be familiar with this offense, and will that really help you guys as you prepare, or is that just kind of?
Well, I think it certainly helps. You know, I mean, there's no question that there's things in the offense that we feel, you know, when it comes to a defensive strategy, Brian and I have talked about what's imperative that you stop if you're going to be successful. Well, you can say explosive plays, yes, but that offense has so many different variations in terms of different types of explosive plays that you're going to have to stop. You don't know which ones you're going to see. I mean, if you made a cut up of us for the last 3 years on explosive plays that look different from the other ones, you know, you'd have, you know, 120 different plays. So, you know, explosive plays, got to stop them. Definitely helps that we've at least seen and been around it, so we know where and how those explosive plays may or could occur. But again, you got to go out there and stop them and recognize them on game day when everything's moving real fast, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Your pace, does that help you guys understand the pace?
Yeah, I think that there's no question us understanding the pace and what they're going to want to do, you know, for us, particularly after they get a first down. You know, we're very in tune to that. So I think for our players in their mind, it's not that that's a real discomfort level. I mean, they know that that's going to happen. They got to know the next play is up and running in several seconds. So our guys need to, they need to be aware of that, but they've seen it, so they understand that.
Gene, just talk about what you've seen out of Angelo Blacks and how much he's done to earn a first-team spot.
Well, Angelo is really one of those young guys that still is in somewhat of an inconsistent stage. I think one thing that if you look at our two deep on our defensive line, I don't know that we just have, there's not very many spots where you can say this guy's the true starter. And I think Angelo is a case, right, is kind of in that world because our defensive tackles, although on paper it says Jeff Whitaker and Angelo Blackson, you still got some guys behind them that are really going to push. And, that's the Gabe Wrights and the Kenneth Carters of the world, and, even a defensive end. I mean, I can't say that, we've got kind of a rotation of starters in there. Craig Sanders played a ton of football. Nosa Igwe's played a ton of football. And so, you got that really kind of all over our defensive line where there's guys that, we got to name the starter, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's heads and tails above the next guy. Where I'm going with that is that Angelo's got to be very much more consistent as a football player to really be where we need him to be. So there'll be continued battles going on at that position, and that's good for us.
Jermaine Whitehead and Ryan White, what did they do to earn their way into the starting lineup Saturday?
Well, I think one of the things that both of those guys were able to do is mentally be able to grasp the system. And there's a lot of communication issues back there that have to go on with the secondary in this defense, particularly starting at safety. But Jermaine's a smart player. Last year he was starting corner / nickel. He's a 200-pound kid that we just felt like, again, we needed help back there. We had to move somebody back there to challenge for jobs. We moved him back there in the spring to challenge for a job, and he grasped everything to the point where, once he started understanding it, boy, he really started improving every day. So that was very good to see. Ryan White is another guy, again, that played sparingly last year, but as we said going in, all bets are off. If you're the guy and you produce and you're the one that understands the defense and you're being productive in practice, and you got a chance to win a job, and he just went in there and won a job. Now, again, I'll say this. That doesn't mean in our mind that Tisharvin Bell and some of these guys are backups, because you're going to see a lot of nickel and you're going to see a lot of rotations in there. So there's, with those guys, there's some play in there in terms of, you can kind of consider some other guys some starters too. But Ryan won the job. So that's him.
Talk about the familiarity of playing at the Georgia Dome for this team.
Well, I think, again, this has been a very fun venue for our guys. So this is the third year in a row that we've played there. Our guys enjoy it. Again, I think that goes along with kind of the pageantry and the excitement of this game. I think the excitement of this game is that it's not a home game, which we love playing here, but this is the next best thing for us. It's the next best thing for our fan base. It's the next best thing for our players. So, Atlanta is we spend a lot of time there in terms of recruiting, and we spent a lot of time there recently in the last few years playing there as well. So, kind of a home away from home for us, if you will, a little bit, but our guys are very, very excited about playing there.
On the depth chart, didn't see Corey Grant or Robinson Ferrizzi. What's up with those guys?
They're going to be, Corey's still battling some injury issues, but Robinson is definitely going to be there on the trip. Corey, we're going to play day by day and see where he is health-wise. But he's coming along. He's making some strides. We'll know more today and tomorrow, but that's why you don't see him on there.
The Tyler Nero, I see he's on the depth chart. Talk about what he did as a true freshman to get there.
Well, there's some cases in there, Mark, where we're still evaluating some of these young guys. We don't know, exactly whether there's some guys in there that we may bring on the trip, some guys that may be on the depth chart, that they're still under red shirt consideration. So everything's not set in stone right now. It's kind of like what we did with Greg Robinson last year. We took him everywhere, we had him prepared, we had him ready, but we knew our idea was to try to redshirt him unless we had to do something otherwise. So some of those kids are still falling into that category at different positions.
Would your other freshman, Jamel, President, be one of those guys, defensive end?
Yeah, Jamel would fall into that category as well.
Gene, how has Reese Dismukes responded to your decision to suspend him, and how have the other players responded?
Obviously, Reese is going to do everything that we're asking him to do if he's going to get back on the field, so I've made that very clear. Our team has really responded well in terms of, not letting it become a distraction, understanding that, Auburn is not made by one guy, and the next guy's got to step up. So that guy is Tunde. And I think his teammates have responded well. We had a terrific practice Sunday. We expect to have the same today. And again, we move forward. Again, my sole focus with Reese is to make sure that we get him the help he needs to be successful in everything that he does. We'll continue to do that. But as a football team, Sunday at practice, we moved on. And we're getting prepared and we're focused for one thing, and that's to play Saturday night against Clemson.
How daunting of a task is that for a center with all the responsibilities that he has to come in, having only made one other start?
It's a unique challenge. It's a unique challenge. But again, I think that the great thing about young people is that they know when there's a challenge right in front of them, and in my experiences, they really do everything they can to respond. We don't expect it to be any different in this way, in this case. And Tunde's had a good practice Sunday, and he'll have a good week again this week. I feel very sure of that. But he's got it's a big challenge for him. That position, if you don't know, that position is extremely critical with communications and directing the lines and protections and things of that nature. So it's a very critical position for us. But again, he's been here, a couple of years, and that's what he's being called to do.
Gene, another surprising development on the depth chart is Trent Fisher, free safety ahead of Enrique, I guess. Talk about how that was shook down.
Well, again, Enrique's been banged up, beat up, and missed some time. And, again, Trent's a young guy that, hey, he's learned the defense. He's come in here and he's earned a backup job. And, you're going to see him on special teams as well. He's a very reliable guy. And, again, I think this is a great case in point for a young guy that comes in and seizes an opportunity when he knows there is one. When you have a new defense coordinator come in, he says all jobs are open. You're waiting to see which guy sees the opportunity, who maybe weren't a starter before, or maybe didn't even play much before. You're waiting to see the guys that seize those opportunities, and Trent did that.
Could you talk a little bit about the maturation of Kyle Frazier, and just a lot of us, other than spring game, have only seen him throw 12 real passes. So just his maturation as a player, leader, and a passer.
Well, it'll be very interesting to see him perform Saturday night. Here's the deal with Kyle. He did get enough experience last year that when he walks on the field for the first time, it won't be the first time, meaning this Saturday night. And that's a good thing for a quarterback, so there's no question about that. Kyle's a very, very talented athlete. He's worked extremely hard to get to this position. We expect big things out of him. Our standard doesn't come down and say, hey, look, we know it's your first game as a starter, but no. We expect a lot out of that position. He understands that. He's matured as a player, and we're excited to watch him play. I think our players have a lot of confidence in him, and us as coaches, we have a lot of confidence in him. And it'll be a really neat thing to watch the ebb and flow of the game go with him and how he responds to potentially negative dynamics out there. I'm really excited about watching him play. So he'll continue to prepare real hard this week. He does a lot of stuff on his own, and that's good to see. He's into it. But again, he earned the position, and we're excited to see what he can do.
Is it a challenge with the new center? I know he's working on some, but
Obviously, I think the obvious challenges are there, no question about it. But again, they worked Sunday evening, and they've got 3 or 4 more days right now to continue to work that. So that'll obviously be a point of emphasis, not putting the ball on the ground on the quarterback center exchange. And but we'll continue to work on getting that feel for both of those guys all week long.